You're listening to the We're Talking Sports podcast, hosted by Ben Burns and Richie Donnell. Remember to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and visit our website at mysportstop.com. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here they are, Ben Burns and Richie Donnell.
All right, everybody, welcome to We're Talking Sports. We're here. We're ready to have fun.
Yes.
Richie,
Brett. We're about 20 minutes late.
That's okay. We ran into a friend that
has been on the show
before. He was on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So we got to say hi to him.
He didn't say hi to us.
He didn't say hi to us. I don't know. I tried to talk to him about the Bulls. He was wearing a Bulls visor. But
yeah, he wasn't having that.
Did he say any words besides words that were not nice?
No.
I'm not sure.
It depends on who you are if you think they're nice.
He's the Bill Belichick of the Radio Lobo booth. If just for
he's very,
because he literally just looked at us and said no schedule, no schedule, no,
yes,
nothing.
No. Why?
That was his conversation.
What? All right. He talks through his music.
Yes,
I would say
you have to listen to the music.
Radio Lobo, everybody.
As we talk through our sports.
Yeah. Hey. Let's get right to it.
So, as we were waiting for you today, Ben, we got here a little early. We talked about some of the stuff that we were going to talk about. So the San Francisco Giants signed Mark, Brett, correct me?
Melanson
Mark Melanson.
To a 4-year, $62 million deal, which is the richest deal for a closer in Major League Baseball history.
Really?
Which is going to last about probably 48 hours.
Yep.
Because apparently Aroldis Chapman is being talked about getting $80 million, which is going to pretty much put $20 million on top of the richest deal of all time.
Jansen and Chapman will both be 75 plus.
And where is Chapman being talked about?
Well, and the crazy thing is originally he wanted 6 years. The
Yep.
Cubs said no, thank you.
The Cubs have not talked to him.
Right, because he
At
wants
all.
6 years.
Hey,
they don't want.
No, hey, they won the World Series with him.
Right, and apparently the rumor is the Yankees
Yep.
really want to bring him back, but they don't want to give him 6 years either.
No, but they'll give him 5 years, 80 million.
So
Or 85.
Okay,
right,
I would take that.
which is incredibly insane. The other insane deal, Rich Hill somehow earned himself $48 million for the Dodgers, which that is probably
Rich indeed.
Which is probably you're going to be your overpaid guy of the offseason, unless Chris Carter can pull off a miracle here. But Rich Hill.
I mean, I wouldn't say he's overpaid.
He's never, to me, he's not worth $15 million.
Last 2 years, he's been top 5 best pitchers in the game.
Okay, I could be wrong.
I mean,
because he was good in Oakland, and then
it's been different because it took him until he was 34 years old to get his break.
Right. Yep, because he had a big lollipop curveball.
And then he goes to the Long Island Ducks Independent League team and tightens up the spin on his curveball and is able to revolutionize himself as a pitcher. Went from being strictly over the top, which is what people were worried about, is his long-term health, to he drops down now and made himself a good chunk of money.
Hey, nothing wrong with making money. Ben, question for you since we're talking about making money.
Oh boy.
Can you think of any scenario, if you're an owner or a GM, that any player, whether it be let's say no salary cap, all through NFL, NBA, MLB. Okay, you're talking LeBron, Bryce Harper. You're probably talking Aaron Rodgers, so forth.
Yeah.
Is anybody to you worth $400 million contract?
Over how many years?
That's the thing, and it didn't really say, but apparently
Harper asked for $400 million.
400.
Yes.
Wow.
Some reports say 12, which makes it a little better, but it's still not very good.
You're still talking in the $35 to $40 million a year range.
I mean, he's the second best player in baseball.
Yeah.
Some could say the first or the best. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I think if he asked for it last year after winning the MVP, understandable, maybe.
Right, sure.
A lot of people wonder why he chose this year.
Hitting 240.
But maybe he's just trying to get some insurance.
Well,
in baseball, I don't think I would pay anybody $400 million.
I always thought, was it Giancarlo Stanton got 300.
300 like 15.
And he was the first one, right?
And that was after he hurt his eye.
Yeah.
Right.
They committed to him, which I think was more of a sign of, we want you to be the face of the franchise regardless of your value.
And I honestly always thought that Miguel Cabrera was going to be the first, or Mike Trout, one of those two guys.
Yeah.
Cabrera got
just under.
He got like 240 or
no, he got like
$30 million a year.
Yeah.
Is what he gets.
So, but I mean, $400 million. I think the only person that I would even consider a $400 million contract to in any sport might be LeBron James.
I would say, yeah. LeBron is so much for the Cavs, not only on the court, but obviously
off the court as well.
Off the court, he is basically Cleveland's economy.
Right. No, it truly is. I mean, and we always talk about in the coach's office, one of the things is like you don't necessarily hear about athletes that give back because obviously some guys want to do it anonymously and whatever, but LeBron, I believe it was last year, gave out $41 million in college tuition to citizens of Akron.
For a guy that didn't even go to college.
For a guy that didn't even go to college. So, I mean, that I can reimburse that. I have no problem giving back to that.
Football-wise, no way. No way. Too dangerous to the sport.
Absolutely.
Any player in the NFL could be done with one play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hurt neck, you're done.
Yeah, and
spinal injury.
We're gonna get to that in a second about a player who's contemplating that.
Okay.
But today there's been a little bit of news from Brett's favorite team. Chris Sale is a Boston Red Sox.
I saw that.
Along with Tyler Thornburg from the Brewers.
Yep.
So Brett losing 7, possibly 8 players today alone.
6 prospects, 1 major league player.
And you got back 2 major league players.
Mm-hmm.
What does this do for the future of Boston? I mean, obviously this is kind of the way they build. This is just their kind of way to stay competitive.
This is how Dave Dombrowski builds. It is not how Ben Cherington built. So the reason the farm system was able to get this to happen is because of Ben Cherington and Theo Epstein.
Right.
And Dave Dombrowski, as he has shown year after year after year in his career, obviously you got Miguel Cabrera from the Marlins, and he made out well in that deal because he didn't give up anybody that great.
Well, also, I mean, because he didn't flop, because they also got Dontrelle Willis in that deal, who nobody has heard of in 10 years.
But, so, the first trade that was made was Thornburg for Shaw, plus Dubon and Pennington also went to the Brewers. I think the Brewers won that one by a landslide.
Okay.
I think it was a terrible deal for the Red Sox, but...
Well, that's good to hear over here.
Good for us. We appreciate that.
Yeah, so...
that means Pablo Sandoval has to play, which is always a terrible thing.
Can I ask you this? Are we going to get another Pablo Sandoval belly picture with a crying Jordan on it?
Well, there's a picture of him today all slimmed down, which is going to be higher, his weight or his batting average?
Let me ask you this. Over under Eddie Lacy versus Pablo Sandoval in a weight scale competition.
My question is, they're all like hyped up on that Sandoval's lost weight. The guy's had a weight problem for his entire life. What makes you think it's going to change this year?
Maybe he's on the Prince Fielder diet. He's vegan. Maybe he changed.
Fielder didn't lose that much weight, if any. But it is what it is. The second part of the deal, Chris Sale. Obviously, Sale is the best pitcher in the American League.
Right.
Probably third best pitcher in all of baseball.
In baseball, yeah.
And he's 3 years, $38 million for the rest of his contract.
So, let me ask you this. Talking about it, Boston over the past probably decade has gone out and got some big name guys.
Yep.
Starting with Josh Beckett, they got Kurt Schilling. They went out and got Kurt Schilling.
And both worked well.
Worked well, but then you went out and got David Price.
Carl Crawford.
Right.
Adrian Gonzalez played well, but it was a bad time for him to be there.
He's better with the Dodgers than he was
Crawford
with Boston.
Is the biggest bust.
Right.
People jumped on Hanley and Sandoval their first year. Sandoval
Hanley
deserved
has
it.
been
Hanley, I think, will be worth the contract. It's being in Boston and having the payroll that the owners of the Red Sox give out, because obviously they're not just... They also own Liverpool, They own Roush Fenway Racing. They own a bunch of
rich.
stuff.
I mean, I get that, but do you think that these kind of deals are eventually going to turn around and bite them?
Prices could be okay. Sales, 3 years, $38 million. It doesn't get much better.
But you're giving. But essentially, you lost 7 future future players.
Obviously, the Brewers deal, I don't like. I thought Shaw should be the third baseman of the future. And so the reason that they weren't going to use Shaw is because Moncada and this other prospect, Rafael Devers, were also in the minors.
Right.
Moncada, now gone to Chicago. I don't really care that he's gone. I'm more about Michael Kopech, who is the other big-name prospect. He throws 105. Only other guy to do that is Chapman.
Right.
But Kopech's a starter. And he was finally figuring out how to actually pitch in the fall league this year. And I think, obviously, Sale gives you the opportunity to win now. You probably have 3 of the 5 best pitchers in the American League on your team.
With Porcello winning the Cy Young, and then David Price as well.
Yeah, but you lose a future who could be Chris Sale. And Moncada could be Adrian Beltre. He could be Nolan Arenado. You never know.
Yeah, right.
And that's the problem with prospects, but Dombrowski has showed over his career he doesn't care that much about prospects, and he does what he needs to win now. It never worked for him because Detroit never won.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just wondering, for Chris Sale, did they put some kind of clause in his contract that he can't tear up the jerseys? Anything like that?
No graffitiing the wall of any sort?
Hey, if I was him and I was only getting $12 million a year, I might tear up a couple jerseys too.
Hey, that is
because he should be getting. He should get more than Price, but
he can do anything he wants. He can graffiti the facade of Fenway.
If he wants to paint Sale on the Green Monster, as long as he goes out there and throws a gem every 5 days, I don't care.
All right. So one of the controversy things that just came out. So Major League Baseball is going to put Bud Selig into the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that I saw after the announcement was 2 negative reports about whether he should or should not be into the Hall of Fame. Because there was a big stigma on guys who, the Mark McGuires, the Barry Bonds, who are not getting into the Hall of Fame for taking steroids. But Bud Selig was kind of the guy who let them take steroids. Should Bud Selig be a part of that group? That it's like there's that asterisk there as, well, you're kind of the guy who fed the idea of offense and steroids, where he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame despite some of the good things that he's done for baseball.
He should be in.
He should be in?
He should be in.
Well, I know you also said that guys that do take steroids eventually could deserve that.
But I think that has nothing to do with it. Yeah, there are definitely a lot of blemishes on Bud Selig's kind of career.
Right.
There are also a lot of blemishes on guys like Stern
Yes,
and
I
Pete
agree.
Rozelle,
Yeah.
who are probably unarguably the best commissioners of their respected leagues.
Right.
Pete Rozelle did a ton of things to kind of keep the AFL kind of under the NFL until they merged. I mean, and David Stern, you could name anything.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah. I mean, he pretty much took the NBA to what it is now.
Right.
With capitalizing obviously on Michael Jordan. And I think, I don't know. To me, I think the only commissioner that I can think of off the top of my head, at least that I have experience with, Paul Tagliabue, is the only guy who really hasn't had anything.
Right, and he's going in the Hall in August.
Right. So I mean, good for him, but he's the only one that I can think of that really doesn't. Like people criticize David Stern for how good the NBA was and now how bad it is getting. Under him and now kind of under Silver.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything with Tagliabue. Really, the only thing I can think of is 9/11, but
that's not his right.
That's not his fault. I mean, some people would question the way he handled it.
Right. Right. In an emergency situation.
Right. But you can't blame him at all. But so I think Bud Selig should be in it. How long was he commissioner for?
I believe he was named interim in 92.
Man.
Elected 2 commissioner in '97 because he had to sell the team, and he
Right,
ended up just giving it to his daughters. And then from '97 until January of 2016,
is he just going in? Is he going in as the commissioner, or is he going in as?
No, I think he's just the commissioner.
Because I was going to say, I mean, you could also throw in that he was,
the Brewers owner, right? Yeah, and the Brewers did have some successful teams
during that time,
during the '80s and the late '70s.
So yeah,
I would agree with that.
Put him in.
All right,
get him in there.
You're down with that, Brett?
I think he should be in. He didn't. I mean, you can say he allowed them to take steroids, but just because they took steroids doesn't mean it's his fault.
No, I agree.
I mean, nobody's blaming Roger Goodell for all the players beating up their wives. I mean, they're blaming the way he handles it.
So if we're not blaming the commissioner for anything that the NFL players do, is Roger Goodell a good commissioner?
No, but it's the way he handles it.
Right.
He's not the reason they did it.
No, but
the way he handles it. Bud Selig
is telling people that, no, my players aren't on steroids, and yes, we test, when in reality, you kind of know that Sosa and McGuire and Bonds are all
Bonds
30
is the
needles
obvious.
in. You know what I'm saying?
Bonds was the most obvious.
Right.
Sosa and McGuire, I mean, they both could hit before they took steroids.
Right.
Let's just say their favorite juice isn't orange juice.
Yeah.
Or apple juice.
Yeah, it's clear and comes in a syringe.
A lot of baseball lifers or historians, whatever you want to call them, will say some of the things he did if they don't like, such as interleague play. A lot of guys don't like interleague play being constant.
You mean players or
just people that have always been around baseball?
Okay.
Because it doesn't ruin what it used to be, but it used to be a month, and people would look forward to that 1 month.
Well, right now it's over the
now
course
it's
of the
a
entire
whole
season.
There's an interleague game every single week.
Right.
Series every single.
Almost every week, right?
Because
at least
there's
2 a month.
Well, yeah, you play in an interleague series over the courses of the year instead of all at once, and people don't like that. But I mean, the game's grown. Right. Small market teams are still.
Now, let me ask you this: do you think that those same individuals would not be upset if the league went to an entirely DH major league instead?
They wouldn't want the DH.
No, so no DH in the NL.
I would say that if you're a pure baseballist, going based off of how the game was made to be it's no DH.
Okay.
And that's why the National League's always considered the senior circuit.
Right. Because the pitchers.
I mean, I think the game's better with a DH because you don't have to
and
deal with that.
And it's not like Babe Ruth was a pitcher, and had 700 career home runs. Now, you get a guy.
Madison Bumgarner hits 3 and he's a superstar at the plate.
And he wants to be in the home run derby. Right. I mean, that's just unrealistic.
But
So maybe I missed this, but apparently, so the Rockets matched an offer to
Monty Eunice.
But they offered him.
The Nets are giving everybody these deals.
So
to restricted free
if he's a restricted free agent, how can they offer him without it being the off season? I must have missed something.
I'm not sure how the rules work because I thought to a point they just become an unrestricted.
See, I thought maybe he didn't sign. He
never signed any deal with the Rockets.
So he hasn't played at all.
Correct. He has been a free agent this entire time.
And then
they've been playing mostly with Ryan Anderson.
Yeah, and and a lot of Sam Decker from what I've been
Correct.
saying. He's been
and Decker's been playing real well.
He has been playing well.
So yeah, I don't know. I guess the rule with restricted free agents is they're just a restricted free agent,
right? Because it was almost 40. It was like a $38 million deal that the Rockets ended up matching. But I thought that I had missed something because I was so confused as to how a player could get offered a contract during the season when he's a restricted free agent.
I don't know. I guess I wasn't very clear on that, but kind of surprised that the Rockets matched it in the first place.
Right,
I did considering, Anderson, they gave Anderson just a monster deal.
Well, who's their center?
Their center is the guy from Africa,
Capella.
Capella.
I watched they played the Celtics last night on NBA TV. So
and Capella's he's done all right.
Okay, so they've played well enough that they would have had no problem not matching
Well,
this contract.
so what I'm reading is that because he skipped his physical today with the Rockets.
Okay.
So is he trying to force?
He's trying to force his way out,
Definitely.
but by
Okay.
doing this, if he doesn't take his physical within 2 days of Houston matching, they can hold him until March 1st.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
So pretty much
And
the
then-
cards are in favor of the Rockets.
Yeah, and then March 2nd, the offer would become void. He'd become a restricted free agent, but
Again.
he wouldn't be able to sign with Brooklyn for a year.
Oh.
So either way it goes, he's better off signing it and playing because he'd still be a restricted free agent, which means that the Rockets could still
Yep.
match it.
But what he needs to do is he needs the Rockets to fail him on his physical, which would send him to the Nets, and then he could pass his physical there.
Wow.
That's some shady
That is-
stuff
that is-
right there.
Well then, that's sticking with Texas teams. There was a rumor yesterday that the team who was slated as the worst team in basketball right now, record wise,
Yeah.
your Dallas Mavericks.
It's Dallas. They've been struggling with injury. I mean, Dirk has only played 5 games
Right.
so far. Darren Williams, even if he's playing, he's hurt
Yep.
all the time. JJ Barea is he's been out for the last couple weeks, and now Seth Curry, who has really been our second best player, is hurt.
So there's a rumor that they're going to trade Bogut.
Who's also hurt.
So when they acquired Bogut to begin with, I remember us talking about this.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where it was like, what?
Well, yeah, it kind of just raised the question, well, why not just re-sign Zaza Pachulia,
Right.
Who is literally about $8 million less.
Yeah.
And
probably a better player at this point.
honestly, yeah. So yeah, it was an interesting question as to why. I think they just needed. They were kind of going off of some adrenaline after maybe Kevin Durant signed with the Warriors, which meant Barnes was coming to Dallas. They're like, let's get the Warriors B team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I would be all for getting rid of him though.
So, I mean, with him being hurt, where do you kind of see his value? What can Dallas really get back in return for him?
Well, Boston is kind of the team being talked about.
Okay.
That's interested. They said they want a real physical defender at center, which is exactly what Bogut is right now. I mean, he's one of the most physical centers in the league, which is why he's hurt all the time.
Right.
I see maybe a first-round pick.
Okay.
For 1 year.
Does Boston have a ton this year? Again?
Boston's got first-round picks
Yeah.
for
Okay,
generations.
So they'll have a
He's
first
got
round.
them for
I'm
generations.
thinking. See, I was thinking, what would I want from them? I would say a first-round pick and Tyler Zeller. Throw in Zeller. Has he been riding the bench?
It depends on the game. I think if they make a trade with Boston, they'd be more likely to get Amir Johnson.
Really? I dig Amir.
I hope they get rid of Amir. Amir plays 15 minutes a game, scores like 2 points, grabs like 3 boards, and
See, I think Amir would be a really good center with Dirk
shooters,
on the court.
surrounded by shooters.
Well, yeah, with Dirk on the
Right,
court. I
right.
think that would be a good
and that's part of the problem is
Boston doesn't have many shooters.
well, they do, but it requires going small, and they want to keep Horford on the court, which means him playing the 5, Crowder playing the 4, and then you have Bradley, Isaiah, and either Jaylen Brown or Marcus Smart, neither of which are the best shooters, but they're out on the court, and that's how they've played a lot of their games lately.
And just with Dallas, like Dallas has been doing pretty much post Tyson Chandler. Everybody's talking about, oh, we need a good center. I mean, they've done all right with kind of average centers. Like Samuel Dalembert had a very good season. Zaza Pachulia,
Right.
Tyson, when they brought back Tyson, and kind of Tyson obviously wasn't as good as before, but they made it work.
Well, and not even that, but like, I get what you're saying, and I agree they need somebody that fits that mold.
Yeah.
But before Tyson came to Dallas and they won the championship, I mean, it wasn't like Tyson Chandler was a guy that everybody was going after. I mean, he had kind of started to bounce around a little bit because
sure.
he didn't live up to the hype in Chicago. And
he had a big year in Charlotte,
right? And then he went to
traded.
Charlotte. He was with
then they traded.
He was with the Pelicans,
but the Mavs traded for him from Charlotte.
Okay, but I think before that wasn't he with New Orleans or OKC?
Yep, he was in New Orleans when Chris Paul was there. Yep. And then before that was the Bulls.
Yeah, so I mean he was around a little bit before, so I mean it wasn't like he was setting the world on fire.
He was considered a bust because he was, I believe, number 1.
I believe so. I think him and Eddie Curry were in the same draft.
Same year.
Or he was number 2, something like that.
He was a top 3 pick.
Right.
Let's say that.
But yeah, I mean it doesn't matter who they seem to get.
Yeah.
Well, and so looking at Bogut compared to Amir's averaging 6 points and 4 boards in 20 minutes a game. Bogut was averaging 4 points and 10.5 boards. Boards is the Boston can't rebound to save their lives.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, their leading rebounder is Avery Bradley.
Oh, that's
last night. Al Horford I think he had 8 assists and he had 3 boards.
That was like the other night when you met. Was that Marc Gasol that upset you when he had 8 assists and 1 rebound?
Gasol is another one of those, but Gasol had a triple-double last night. But Bogut's probably not going to be traded for a while. They said he's out for 2 weeks now.
Yeah, I heard 10 days, so 2 weeks. Maybe
bone bruise
it'll be 3 weeks.
in his right knee. So, either way...
but, I mean, we have till February.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about 2 suspensions today.
Oh, boy.
This is our first one. Rajon Rondo. Was suspended for apparently throwing a towel at his assistant coach during a game.
That's what he got suspended for?
And then not only that, but then it became a heated discussion after the towel was thrown. So, is that the right thing to do? You suspend him? Do you suspend him and the coach? Because I'm not sure if the coach, there's anything that happened to the coach, but it sounded like the coach was very much a part of this as much as Rondo was. Rondo was the one that gets hit, and I think they ended up, I don't remember if they won or lost, but I know he was suspended for last night's game, and they played Portland. But, I mean, do you think that is a suspendable offense? We had talked about Rondo is kind of one of those guys that has been known to be a locker room poison, and Chicago still brought him in. Is this kind of Rondo being Rondo and finding his way out yet again?
Well... Rondo needs to stop being Rondo if he wants, to go back and win a championship. Because, the Bulls signed him because they felt like this was the right kind of environment for him. Dwayne Wade's there now. Jimmy Butler seems like a very good leader. A good environment. Suspending him is the right thing because it gets his attention. When in his very small stint with Dallas, I don't know how many spats he had with Rick Carlisle and Mark Cuban, but they never got the point across because there was nothing at stake because they needed Rondo. Right. They needed him to be on the court. Yeah. Chicago's got MCW. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a little bit different too, where Chicago being in the East and Dallas couldn't afford to lose.
Exactly.
They're
going against San Antonio
and they're fighting for that spot, whereas the Bulls can afford to just say, okay, we're going to sit you a game. It's early in the season. It's not going to.
I think they need to lock him in a room with Dwayne Wade, and D Wade just needs to be real with him. Just say, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. No. I completely agree.
They lost by 2, just to let you know.
To Portland.
Yep.
Okay. So it wasn't even as if the suspension made a huge...
Well, it does because they had 16 total assists. He could have had 16 assists by himself.
Right, yeah.
Not that... So Jerry Grant starts in his place because Carter Williams is out for another 4 to 6 weeks.
Well then.
But I thought I saw Jerry Grant did play very well, though.
And Jerry Grant's just coming...
I like Jerry Grant. Don't get me wrong.
He's just coming back from the D-League, too.
Yeah, they sent him down. He didn't play there. I looked at the box score. He sat the bench.
He didn't play last night?
No, in the D-League.
In the D-League.
He played 23 minutes. He was 1 of 7 from the field.
Ooh.
Had 3 rebounds, 1 assist. But he only had 1 turnover.
Okay.
So I don't know what they're trying to get out of it. Dwayne Wade had 34, Butler had 26, and then Mirotic had 18.
Okay. Did Valentine play a lot?
Valentine played 22 minutes.
Okay.
He was 1 of 6 from the field.
Oof.
He was minus 10 while on the court. Grant was plus 5.
So it sounds like they have 2 point guards who can't shoot, which fit the same mold as Michael Carter-Williams and Rajon Rondo.
Wow.
Grant can shoot, though. If you watched him play in college ball at all, he can.
At Syracuse?
He played at Notre Dame.
Yeah,
he can shoot the ball. His brother can't really shoot the ball.
Right, okay. That's where I get them mixed up.
And
yeah.
the difference is in Notre Dame, he wasn't the point guard.
Right.
Demetrius Jackson was the point guard. Right. He was the off guard with Connaughton.
Yep.
And, I mean, I don't see. You could make. I know Dwayne Wade's not a point guard, but he could. I think he could handle the responsibilities for 4 to 6 weeks.
Not only that, but I mean, you're talking about for 4 to 6 weeks. Speaking of that, Dwayne Wade did just pass 5,000 career assists.
He had 4 assists last night.
Right,
yeah.
Right, yeah. So he's just adding more accolades to what's going to be a Hall of Fame career, but he can easily run the point guard if need be. I mean, it's not.
Butler led the team with 5. Wade had 4, and nobody else had more than 2.
Oof, that's a rough night.
And they lose by 2, got outscored by 3 in the fourth quarter. So they were leading heading into the fourth.
And just couldn't hang on.
And I mean, Lillard scored 30, McCollum had 24.
And, okay, so we talk about handling the ball to a guy who averages over 10 a game, Russell Westbrook, who is just playing. I think this is the best individual season, maybe of my life. So far to this point,
I think he already won the MVP.
Am I right? 7 triple doubles in a row, or is it 6?
6 going for 7.
Going for 7. I mean, that is just unbelievable. I mean, this could be the best season of an individual we've ever seen if he can average better numbers than what Oscar did. I mean, I think Oscar to this point still has to be that best individual season, averaging a triple double. But Westbrook is just.
I don't know. Wilt averaged 50.
Yeah, that is
during
true.
The season.
That is true.
They were. I don't know if either of you guys watched any of the Warriors game.
Did not.
I missed it.
Well, they were talking about players with 60-point games in Warriors history because Clay scored 60.
Scored 60 in 3 quarters.
Yeah. But they're talking. I think there's 57 60-point games in Warriors history, and Wilt has 50 of them or something like that.
Goodness.
53 of them.
Right.
Because they were saying how Curry and Durant's high are both 52 or 54.
So they haven't had 60-point games.
No, and they were talking about how many 50-point games there were, and there's 112, and Wilt has 100.
Oh my goodness.
So Wilt just owns all of the stats for the Warriors, but obviously to average 50 points is something only he can do.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, and the argument is always going to come back to the fact that there was no 3-second penalty then as well, which does make a big difference because who's to say if there wasn't a 3-second penalty? But who's to say Shaq doesn't average 50?
Right. And Wilt towered over everybody in that.
Right, and I don't want to take anything away from Wilt. He's absolutely one of the greatest of all time, and could be in any generation type of player. He just happened to have that benefit on his side while playing.
Yeah, Bill Russell was really his only competition.
Right.
Will it affect Westbrook's season this year that he's averaging almost 6 turnovers a game? I mean, I know they said he's going to have the highest usage rate in NBA history.
Yeah, he's
by far because I don't know. I don't remember what they said, but I think
assist to turnover ratio.
Right. That's ultimately what they will have to look at.
So right now it's 2-1.
Which, yeah, I
mean, considering what else the Thunder have.
Right?
Yeah.
And
they're winning. If they're losing and he was doing this, I think it's a completely different story. I think that hurts him a little more. But understanding that right now he is the organization.
Well, and he's taking a lot more chances now. He knows that he doesn't have to split the ball with KD.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, he's going to take and it's not as if he's, if he was taking 100 shots to score 22 points, Monte Ellis-esque, it's a completely different scenario. But, I think with them winning and he's actually very effective and his efficiency rate is probably high, that I don't think you can even consider anybody else for MVP at this point with the way that he's playing.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I just had a question. You said there was 2 suspensions, didn't you?
Yes, I did. We have not gotten to the other one yet.
So it's not an NBA suspension.
It is not an NBA suspension.
I was thinking,
have you not heard of the other suspension that has happened?
Are we going to get to that right now?
Ooh, no, I have one other sport
All right.
in between. I'm going to stick with basketball real quick.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
Brett brought up to me the Blue Bloods are back to running the show in college basketball.
All right.
Villanova is ranked number 1.
Okay.
UCLA is number 2. Kansas is 3. Duke is 5. Kentucky is 6. And North Carolina is 7. So we are back to...
And Indiana.
And 9. Indiana is up there as well. And so
they're red.
We are back to the idea of the power teams of college basketball are again taking over. Villanova was a very nice surprise last year to win the national championship. It was their second in school history, I believe. But yeah, it seems as if the real world has kind of come back to college basketball. I guess, we talk about a lot with Alabama kind of being head and shoulder above everybody else and the parity behind them in college football. Is there anything that you think can be done to create parity in college basketball? Or with the one and done and the Kentuckys and the Dukes and the UCLA? I mean, is this going to happen forever? Or is there any way that parity can kind of find its way into college basketball?
If anybody has an idea, I'd love to know it.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I think it really just comes down to recruiting. I mean, if a big name coach goes to a small school, it might change. If John Calipari happened to just go back to UMass,
right?
UMass would have a very good team.
I think we'd see Brett at a lot of UMass games.
Yeah.
No?
I don't like Calipari.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean it's coaching and recruiting.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I think I know the traditional powers have been at the top of the rankings for years.
Right.
But if you look at the teams that are in the Elite Eight, it's not always those traditional powers.
Okay.
I mean, in this year, I don't even know if one of those teams will win the national title. I mean, UCLA has kind of been gone for... They haven't been great in 5 or so years. But best team in the country right now might be Baylor.
Okay, yeah.
If you've looked at the teams that they've beaten Xavier.
Yeah, and they blew Xavier out.
Yeah, every team they've beaten that's ranked has been a blowout. They beat Oregon, yes, without Dylan Brooks.
Right.
But still beat them by 17. Beat VCU, beat Michigan State, beat Louisville, beat Xavier.
And are they 7-0 or 7-1 or
8-0?
8-0. Okay.
They're fourth. I mean, I think it's obviously a little more difficult because basketball is it relies so much on being able to win 6 games in a row in March.
Right. Well, and not only that, but I think what also can end up hurting Baylor is outside of Kansas. I mean, who else are they really going to play in that conference? I mean, Oklahoma's considered down. Texas hasn't been as good as what they were hyped up to be before the season started. Oklahoma State is under a new coaching staff, and they're usually pretty good. I mean, West Virginia is up there.
Iowa State will be tough.
I thought Iowa State would be good as well, but they have been...
All right.
Little disruption.
Yeah, sorry. A little disruption here. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what's going to end up hurting Baylor. But yeah, I mean, UConn wasn't very good when they won the national championship.
Yep.
But yeah, all it takes is to win those 6 games, and that's all that matters.
Yep.
So Ben had asked about our second suspension. So
Brett asked too.
I'm sorry. You were the one who asked. Brett had no idea what we were talking about.
Well, I think I know where we're at now.
Okay.
So Cam Newton
wasn't much of a suspension.
Not a suspension, but was
the benching.
Was benched, I should say, because he didn't wear a tie to the game So we don't know if it was one play or one series because Derek Anderson went out and set the world on fire and threw an interception on the first play of the game.
Why would they even throw it? Why don't they just run it?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, but we don't know if Cam Newton was only going to be out for the one play or if they said, hey,
that's a good point.
First series, I'm with you.
Honestly, I would have even just ran it every play of the series.
Okay. I mean, it just, I understand, and I was listening and I took bad advice. I shouldn't say took bad advice. I did the dumb thing and was listening to Merrill Hodge on ESPN. But he made a point. He was talking about how with Ron Rivera, the suspension is a little odd.
Yeah.
Because some teams, he had made mention of Jimmy Johnson. When Jimmy Johnson got hired to coach the Cowboys, he had a team meeting and said, hey, I'm going to let you guys all know. I'm going to treat you all differently because those that are helping us win ball games and those that are superstars are more likely to get away with certain stuff than guys that aren't. Yeah. And he was honest about it and told the players up front. Whereas Ron Rivera, you didn't necessarily hear anything about it, and now randomly Cam Newton gets suspended for something so small like that you don't really know whether that's a Ron Rivera thing.
Right.
To kind of...
many players could have been suspended for that before. We just don't know it.
Right, and Cam Newton... This isn't the first time we haven't seen Cam in a tie. They were showing a picture of what I think was last week's press conference. He was just in a regular
was that
shirt.
when he was suspended, right? That was when he was suspended.
It was...
I read... so after I saw this, looked for it a little bit, and... Cam Newton came out and said it is a team rule. Since they stayed in California last week, all the players sent their clothes home on Friday.
Okay.
Cam Newton didn't realize he didn't have a collared shirt, and he didn't wear a tie because he said it would have looked foolish with a uncollared shirt.
Right, because he had
all he had to do,
a turtleneck.
All he had to do was put a tie on the turtleneck, and he could have played. But he said this is a rule that Rivera has told us.
Okay.
And Rivera has told us that he treats everybody the same regardless of who you are because that's that's how he wants to go about it.
Then I completely agree if that's how he's been to continue to hold that standard. It just seemed a little bit odd.
Well, yeah, because Newton said in the past he has not worn, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, he didn't wear a tie either. So maybe it was just that this trip Rivera wanted him to wear a tie. I don't really know, but
right. Yeah, I don't know. That's
didn't really make a difference.
It didn't.
It's a dumb rule.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
They already have like a.
But it's the principle that nobody's different because when I was in high school and we played and we had games on Friday or whether we played on Friday or Saturday. When it was Friday, you had to wear a dress shirt with pants, dress shoes, and either a bow tie or a tie of some sort. You had to dress up in some facet, or even, sometimes the coaches go, okay, for you guys that don't like to dress up, wear a polo, and it doesn't matter whether if I don't get along with Brett, I still have to say, hi, Brett, that's a nice shirt that you're wearing, to create that unity of nobody is better than anybody else.
You have to say that to everyone?
When you see them in the hallway, you had to compliment them and acknowledge them as your teammate because it created the sense of a team.
You guys are becoming robots.
But that's the idea because you almost...
No.
I mean, we didn't have to acknowledge people, but through middle school and the 1 year I played in high school of basketball, every single away game, you wore a shirt and tie and dress pants.
Yeah. And it was
home games as well if you were on JV or above. Mm-hmm. Why? For home games? I don't know. Nobody's going to see you.
It was just the rule.
But that's how things were. I hated it because I hate dressing up. But, it's just one of those things where you look as a team and you, I guess, act as a team, but...
Speaking of teams, one team that could be greatly impacted, maybe it was a quick reaction to what had happened, but there's a lot of buzz around Earl Thomas right now, talking about possibly retiring because of the injury that he had suffered. I believe it was a broken leg. Do you think that it was a quick trigger and it was just too quick and he's just kind of making an emotional statement, or is it possible with all the young guys that are retiring early due to injuries or concussions or whatever that we may never see Earl Thomas
I can't remember.
again?
Was he one of the guys that was kind of saying, "Oh, I was thinking about retiring," when kind of like Patrick Willis and Chris Farland, everybody.
I'm not sure.
I feel like he was, but I mean, hey, that's something to consider. I mean, Earl Thomas has had a fantastic career.
Yes.
I mean, if he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame, he's at least going to be considered.
Right.
So I don't know. It's. I mean, the way he's playing right now, he's going to be on the All-Decade team.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. He's a tremendous safety. Arguably,
really is
the best safety in the league, or if not one of the top.
And a great
safeties.
leader too.
Right.
He's been kind of the leader of the Legion of Boom.
Right.
I hate that, but it's one of the better names of nicknames they give out these days. But
not like the Purple People Eaters or the Steel Curtain.
Right.
Or
The Midtown Monsters of Midway.
Monsters of Midway. Yeah, some good nicknames.
They had good nicknames back then. I don't know what happened now. Now everything's just #Beast or stuff like. Just stop
Ben
it.
hating on the hashtag.
Yeah, no. Man, but I mean, I think whenever you suffer a injury as serious as that, I mean,
Right.
you'd be stupid not to consider
Right.
retirement.
Well, not even Calvin Johnson, I don't think, has really had any serious injuries, and he decided to retire as well.
Yeah.
And Detroit is apparently somehow making do without him.
Yeah.
But I mean, Brett, is Earl Thomas done?
I mean, his teammates say don't even listen to him.
Okay.
But I mean, if you break your leg,
Yeah,
chances
that's
are
serious.
it could happen
Right.
Happen
again. Your bone does. I mean, it heals,
Yeah.
but it's not
Right.
as strong as it was before.
Right.
And so obviously that's something he's going to think of. And he's not one of those soft hitting safeties.
No, not at all.
He's
Right.
a hard hitting safety. He puts his body on the line every week.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's got a family, but I'm sure he does. And he's got
Probably, right.
He's made enough money that it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. At this point, the money isn't what he's playing for.
And I believe that's kind of what he said when he sent out his tweet or whatever it was after the game, is that football has treated me well. I've made a lot of money playing this sport, and I'm going to think about things, including retirement.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as if he announced it, just the idea
No.
of it.
yeah.
So to another guy who possibly would have retired before the season started, but signed a deal, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is now on the bench
Ugh.
yet again, as the Jets just continue to look more and more like a mess. They went with Bryce Petty this week against the Colts, and if I saw that score correctly, did I see 41-7?
Yeah,
is that what I saw?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is. I'm sorry, but
Fitzpatrick start?
He started.
He did start.
And then he was benched.
Yeah.
I saw his name on the box score as well, and I
Yeah.
wasn't sure.
wanted
what
to make
happened.
sure that Petty didn't get benched.
Yeah,
Honestly, I think Fitzpatrick, after he's done playing in the NFL, he should take a career in train robberies. 'Cause that's basically what he did to the Jets.
that's funny. That's good. Just his career, like he started off. Oh, he was okay, and then all of a sudden last year, it was like, wow, this is a great spot
Right.
for him. And now,
Well,
he's been benched twice. And the only reason he got his job back was because Geno Smith tore his ACL.
And he had a really good year in Buffalo once, and then he got a big extension.
Right.
Same thing happened. Exact same happened.
Well, this contract's only 1 year, correct? His deal with the Jets.
I don't know about that.
I'm not sure.
Brett's on it, but
yeah,
I feel like it's more than 1 year.
I know it wasn't like super long, but I just can't.
It is a 1-year deal.
Okay,
I
so
think it was kind of
so
like
his
All right.
job as a train robber
So,
isn't
1 year,
necessarily
$12 million.
12 million. I mean, still that 12
All
million
right,
is
so the Jets
is
are
a
on-
little bit of a train robber.
The Jets are on the phone with Deshaun Watson right now. So
Yeah, if they finish with a worse record than the Bears, because the Bears are on the phone with them too.
Cleveland,
The 49ers,
49er, everybody.
everybody is on.
And the kid from North Carolina, too.
We talked a lot about this the other day.
What's that?
About how Watson. Well, first of all, Watson has fallen in a lot of people.
I think if you're the number one overall pick, you pick Watson.
Right. I think at the end of the day, after the combine happens, all this hoopla of Mitch Trubisky, of Kaiser, it's going to sort itself out.
Mahomes.
And I think at the end of the day, regardless, I think when you look at consistency, winning, and leadership, Deshaun Watson is just going to he's just going to do him. And as all these guys go up and down and on the elevator next to him, he's just going to keep going up the stairs.
I think
level by level.
I think Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott also really helped his stock.
Right.
Or it should.
Right, it should.
Wait, Dak's been playing?
And Wilson going to 2 Super Bowls in, 3 years?
Absolutely. I'm sorry I got us off on a little bit of a tangent.
No, that's perfect.
I got another random thing. Mike Pennell of the Green Bay Packers suspended for the next 4 games.
And a linebacker the linebacker for the Colts just got hit too. Obviously we have Freeman.
What's his name?
Oh my goodness, I'm blanking on it.
DeQuell Jackson?
Yes. He got hit with a
suspended a lot. Mike Pennell was suspended for the first 4 games of last year.
Yep.
For substance abuse?
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised it's not more than 4 then this time.
Is it PEDs this time?
It's
PEDs
he violated the NFL policy and program for substances of abuse.
Well, but I mean, substance abuse, I think in terms of weed versus substance abuse in terms of it being a PED, I think are different. So it wouldn't be a second violation pushing him to 8 games. It would be 2 different.
One of them are PEDs.
And one could have been drugs. I'm not 100% sure.
He wasn't taking enough PEDs because he's not been.
He apparently needs to take some more. Well, speaking of the Packers, one of the things that I did want to talk about, and that has been kind of talked about with Detroit's success, everybody keeps bringing up the idea of Green Bay winning out.
Yeah.
So, is that a real possibility? They still didn't seem to necessarily play. They played good enough to win against Houston, but it wasn't like it was a showcase.
Wasn't a runaway.
Right.
Wasn't runaway.
If the Packers play the way that they continue to play.
They made Brock Osweiler look pretty good.
Can they win out playing the way they're playing right now? And make the playoffs?
Next week against Seattle, that's going to be if they can beat Seattle, they can win out.
Okay.
I'm not real.
Where is that game?
It's at home. It's at Lambeau.
Okay.
And then they play at Chicago.
Yep.
Versus Minnesota at home, and then at Detroit. So
okay.
So
Seattle and Detroit are kind of going to be the deciding.
Right.
And Minnesota.
I don't think they're going to need to win out to win the division because the Giants are going to be playing the Lions.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a tough game.
Okay.
Who else are they playing?
The Lions they got the Bears this week, so they should move to 9-4.
They should.
But then they play at New York and at Dallas.
See. So they could potentially be coming into week 17 9-6. So
right. If they lose,
and then then you got to talk about who owns the tiebreaker because if the Packers go in with 8 games and the Lions go in with 9 games. And the Packers win. They're both 9-7.
Well, but Green Bay's already beat
Detroit.
Detroit.
That's right. My bad. I was thinking they lost to them. So
it would have to be. They would have to go in with the same record.
Detroit
win.
I know. I was thinking that Detroit won the first match, but I think it's going to come down to week 17. It always seems to come down to week 17.
It always does, no matter how far somebody gets ahead or behind.
I think that's good.
That is good. It keeps that for intrigue. So I haven't had a what dummy yeah moment in a while. And
so I looked this up. The what dummy yeah. It's only dummy yeah. I know. What
I know. I added the what.
What? Okay.
Yeah. Because you went and looked up.
I looked it up. I wanted
Eli
to say,
Drake.
What the heck?
It's hilarious. He's so funny.
Okay, and I play in a couple fantasy leagues. One of them is a public league on ESPN.
Okay.
One of the team names is Dummy Yeah.
Yes, Eli Drake
so
has coined the term
popular.
Dummy Yeah. And he has those the Staples buttons where you hit it and it goes, that was easy. Well, his goes,
Yeah,
dummy.
yeah.
Yeah, it's Dakota has the app on his phone, so when somebody says something stupid, he just hits a button and it goes
We need
up.
to get a curtain here.
Yeah, it's absolutely hilarious. But Jeff Fisher got an extension.
Yeah. Well, okay. It was before the season started.
Right.
It's just being reported now, and there were rumors that he was going to get an extension.
Yeah.
So this should not be new news for us.
But the fact that they're playing so poorly.
They're okay, but they didn't know they were going to be playing so poorly. They came in, they're like, okay, they finally have their franchise quarterback in Jared Goff. Let's give the GM and the coach enough time to. I mean, it's only 1 year with an option on 2018.
Right. I got you.
So, but it's. I mean, he could still get fired.
Yeah. It just doesn't. It just didn't make sense to do that.
I mean, sure it didn't, but I mean, I think the thing is they didn't. I'm sure Jeff Fisher didn't want to go into this year without a contract,
right,
or with an expiring contract.
Right.
That's not something a lot of coaches do.
Right.
I think the last coach I remember doing that was Tom Coughlin.
Right.
Played with an expiring contract, ended up winning the Super Bowl.
Right.
So that ended up working in his favor.
Okay.
But I think as far as security goes for both sides,
right,
just give him a 1 year extension.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We got to go.
Yeah.
But anyways, we have a lot to talk about next show. Obviously, the bowl games.
Yep.
Another fun thing of contender pretender.
Yep.
But anyways, that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to go on mysportstop.com for some cool articles and such. And have a great rest of the week.